Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the world of tea.
Ooh, tea. That sounds
Well,
lovely.
it is and it isn't.
Oh, how so?
Well, we're not actually talking about the drink itself, but more about the challenges tea growers face.
Ah, I see. So what kind of challenges are you talking about here?
Today we're going to focus on a tiny but mighty insect called the jassid.
Jassid. Okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
They're these little insects that can cause some major problems for tea plants.
Interesting. What kind of problems?
Well, for starters, they reproduce incredibly quickly.
Oh, so just a few of them can quickly turn into an infestation.
Exactly. And they damage the tea plants in a couple of ways. Not only do they suck sap from the leaves,
Which already sounds bad enough.
right, but they also inject toxins while they're feeding,
Oh no. So it's not just a sip of sap, it's a sip of poison.
pretty much. And those toxins cause the leaves to curl up and become basically unusable for tea production.
That sounds like a nightmare for tea growers.
It is. We're talking about potential crop losses of up to 50% because of these little guys.
Wow, 50%. That's a huge chunk of their harvest.
And a big hit to the global tea supply.
So how do tea growers even begin to fight back against these jassids?
It's a tough battle for sure. Traditionally, they've relied on things like visual inspections, walking through the fields, looking for those telltale curled leaves, or using sticky traps to catch and monitor the adult jassids.
I can imagine that's incredibly time-consuming and labor-intensive, especially on large tea plantations.
It is. But thankfully, there's a new weapon in the fight against jassids: technology.
Technology. Now, that's something I'm interested in hearing more about.
We'll dive into that more after a quick break.
Sounds good. I'm on the edge of my seat.
We'll be right back.
Don't leave us hanging.
We're back and ready to talk tech,
Listen.
specifically how it's being used to combat those pesky jassids.
It's pretty amazing stuff, actually. There's this company called Farmanaut, and they're using technology in some really innovative ways to help tea growers protect their crops.
Farmanaut. Okay, I'm listening. Tell me more.
Well, one of the key things they're doing is using satellite imagery to monitor tea plantations from space.
Wait, from space. So they're like literally looking down on the tea fields from orbit.
Yep, and by analyzing the light reflected by the plants, they can detect subtle changes that might indicate an early jassid infestation.
So it's like the plants are sending out a distress signal, and Farmonaut satellites are picking it up.
That's a great way to put it. And this early detection is crucial because it allows tea growers to take action before the infestation gets out of control.
So they're not just waiting until the leaves are all curled up and the damage is already done. They can get ahead of the problem.
Exactly. And that's where their AI system comes in. It's called Jivan AI.
Jivan AI. Okay, what does that do?
Well, it takes all that data from the satellite imagery, weather patterns, historical
Hmm.
records, and uses it to predict when and where jassid outbreaks are likely to occur.
They're predicting the future of jassid attacks. That sounds a bit like science fiction.
I know, right? But it's actually happening. And the best part is that Jivan AI provides personalized recommendations to each farmer based on their specific location and conditions.
So it's not just a one-size-fits-all solution. It's tailored to each individual farm.
Precisely. And all of this information is accessible through a really user-friendly mobile app. Farmers can get real-time alerts, scouting tools, treatment recommendations, you name it.
Wow, so they've really thought of everything. They're giving tea growers the tools they need to fight back against these jassids.
And they're doing it in a way that's sustainable and environmentally friendly. They're big proponents of integrated pest management, or IPM.
IPM, I think I've heard of that, but remind me what that is again.
It's basically a holistic approach to pest management that focuses on using a variety of methods to control pests rather than relying solely on chemical pesticides.
So it's about finding the right tool for the job, not just hitting everything with the same hammer.
Exactly. And IPM takes into account things like the life cycle of the pest, the surrounding environment, and the health of the plants.
So it's a much more nuanced approach.
It is, and it's becoming increasingly important as we face the challenges of climate change and the growing demand for food.
So how does Farmonaut's technology fit into all of this?
Well, their satellite monitoring and AI system are essential tools for IPM. They provide farmers with the information they need to make informed decisions about which IPM strategies to implement and when.
It's like having a virtual jassid expert in your pocket.
That's a great way to put it.
This is all incredibly fascinating. I'm really impressed with how Farmonaut is using technology to tackle this problem.
Me too. It's a great example of how innovation can be used to address some of the biggest challenges facing agriculture today.
And ultimately, it's helping to ensure that we can all continue to enjoy our daily cup of tea.
Cheers to that.
It's amazing to think that something as small as a jassid can have such a big impact on something as widely enjoyed as tea.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of how interconnected our world really is.
And it highlights the importance of finding sustainable solutions to protect our crops. Speaking of solutions, I'm curious to learn more about this integrated pest management approach.
Sure thing. IPM is all about taking a holistic approach to pest management. It's about using a variety of methods to control pests rather than just relying on chemical pesticides.
Right. So what kinds of methods are we talking about here?
Well, one important aspect of IPM is prevention. This involves things like planting jassid-resistant tea varieties or making sure the plants are healthy and well-nourished so they're better able to withstand pest attacks.
So it's kind of like boosting their immune system.
Exactly. Then there's monitoring, which is where Farmanaut's satellite imagery and AI come in. By detecting infestations early on, farmers can take action before the problem gets out of hand.
Makes sense. And I imagine this early detection also helps to reduce the need for pesticides.
Precisely. IPM is all about using the right tool at the right time and minimizing the use of chemicals whenever possible.
So it's not just about getting rid of the pests. It's about doing it in a way that's good for the environment and good for the tea plants themselves.
Right. Another key component of IPM is cultural control. This involves things like pruning the tea bushes regularly to improve air circulation and reduce humidity.
So it's about making the environment less hospitable to the jassids.
Exactly. And then there's biological control, which involves introducing natural predators of jassids like ladybugs or spiders into the tea plantation.
It's fascinating how we can use nature to help us control pests.
Absolutely. It's all about working with nature, not against it.
So we've got prevention monitoring, cultural control, biological control, and of course, as a last resort, targeted pesticide use, if absolutely necessary.
Yep, IPM really does cover all the bases.
It's a really impressive approach.
It is, and it's great to see companies like Farmonaut leading the way in implementing these sustainable solutions.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Just that next time you're enjoying a cup of tea, take a moment to appreciate all the hard work and innovation that went into producing those leaves. From the farmers who carefully tend to the plants to the scientists and engineers who are developing these amazing technologies.
Well said. It's a great reminder that even something as simple as a cup of tea is connected to a much larger world.
And that by supporting sustainable practices, we can all play a part in protecting our planet and ensuring that we can continue to enjoy the things we love.
Absolutely. And a big thank you to Farmanaut for the incredible work they're doing.
Cheers to that.
That's all the time we have for today, folks. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of tea. Until next time, happy sipping.
See you then.